of the Belt and Road Initiative.
Chinese President Xi Jinping delivered a keynote speech at the opening ceremony.
It has been 10 years since China rolled out that ambitious infrastructure.
In a world where power and influence are the ultimate endgame, an ancient path is being revitalized with promises of prosperity. Is China's new Silk Road paving the way to a brighter future, or just a strategic move in the global power game? What's China's real goal with this massive project of the 21st century? A port in Pakistan, Gwadar Port, a train route to Madrid, a gas pipeline in Kazakhstan, a housing development in Malaysia, an art exhibition in Dunhuang in western China. These are all projects integrated into the new Silk Road, China's ambitious infrastructure network spanning 5 continents, with a potential cost of up to $1 trillion. It's a strategically planned endeavor with geopolitical and economic ramifications, criticized by some as a tool for world domination and praised by others as a 21st century Marshall Plan that will help develop neglected regions. It's a project that's been under construction for a decade, and China assigns vital importance to it. In theory, the Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, proposes a new concept for international relations based on the idea of negotiating, building, and sharing together through free trade among nations, aiming to create an order based on prosperity and stability. It takes as its model the relationships established between East and West during the historic Silk Road era. In the beginning, when Chinese President Xi Jinping first pitched the idea at summits in Astana, Kazakhstan, and Jakarta, Indonesia back in 2013, the focus was on neighboring countries. The main goal was to build infrastructure, like ports, skyscrapers, railways, roads, bridges, airports, dams, power plants, and tunnels. But as China's presence abroad grew stronger, the initiative expanded both in terms of geography and sectors. Now, according to Beijing, it involves over 100 countries worldwide, from Uruguay to Sri Lanka, covering almost every aspect: trade, finance, security, and culture. For China, the benefits of the plan are pretty straightforward. It helps develop its poorer western regions by creating new routes. It boosts its industries during times of slower growth. It opens up new markets for its goods. It encourages other countries to adopt its technological standards, like 5G and telecommunications, and overall, it enhances China's international presence and influence. For the rest of the world, the new Silk Road's impact could be huge. It's expected to affect about 55% of the global economy, completely changing how we build infrastructure and do international trade. This initiative could cut transportation times and trade costs a lot, which would really shake up the global economy. Countries involved might see more trade and investment. Even though it's still being built, the benefits for the countries involved are pretty clear. Asia needs about $1.7 trillion in infrastructure investments by 2030 to keep growing, according to the Asian Development Bank. China's investments are coming in without much question. There are already over 1,000 projects, and even though China slowed down its spending abroad due to its own economic issues, projects labeled under the Belt and Road Initiative are still getting plenty of funding. Some countries, especially those that struggle to access international markets, are pretty happy to take China's money. But that's exactly what sparked criticism from some countries. Take the United States, for instance, which has accused Beijing of practicing debt trap diplomacy. They're worried that countries involved in the initiative might end up financially dependent on China. An Indian expert in geostrategy, Brahma Chalani, came up with the term debt trap diplomacy back in 2017. He suggests that China gives out big loans in exchange for economic or political favors, especially targeting poorer nations with long-term debts. The concern is that if these countries can't pay back the loans, they might have to give up strategic assets or agree to long-term deals with China. For example, there's reports that Sri Lanka had to hand over control of a seaport to China because they couldn't repay the loan used to build it. President Xi Jinping and his team talk about how the BRI is helping with development. It's true that China's big investments are building important roads and ports and boosting economies in poorer countries. But the debts these countries are taking on are starting to look like too much, especially if the projects don't bring in the money they were supposed to. This could mean countries needing to renegotiate their debts or look for help with paying them off, which could really hurt their economy and independence. In fact, the new Silk Road's already led to $2 trillion worth of contracts worldwide and a debt of $300 billion owed by participating countries to a Chinese bank. This means Beijing now holds over half the debt of 8 countries involved in the BRI: Kyrgyzstan, Laos, Maldives, Mongolia, Montenegro, Pakistan, Tajikistan, and Djibouti. The ambitious project will wrap up, interestingly, exactly 100 years after the founding of the People's Republic of China. In 2049, its big vision will be achieved just as the country hits a century of history and progress. Meanwhile, according to some estimates, the initiative is already boosting the global economy by $7.1 trillion annually by 2040. If that happens, by mid-century, the Silk Road infrastructure would have supercharged global growth like never seen before by a program this big. Looking at it that way, the future seems promising. But will we reach that point without first draining the economies of participating countries? That's a bit uncertain. Want to know how this huge project will turn out? Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to catch the next updates.